So you've decided to listen to the Reality Czars podcast. How brave of you. Nate and Paranoid American may think that they're merely discussing cryptozoology, interdimensional realities, and crude humor. But know this, listening to this podcast puts you on a certain list, the Clinton body count, if you will. The truths they reveal are not for the faint of heart, nor the blissfully ignorant. Listen if you dare, but remember, some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. And now, your hosts, those audacious explorers of forbidden knowledge, the Reality Czars, Nate and Paranoid American.
And we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is the Reality Czars podcast, and we're your hosts tonight, Nate and Thomas, Paranoid Motherfucking American.
Watch your mother-loving mouth.
We are so happy. We are honored. We have Simon Esler back on the show. Simon, thank you so much, man.
Oh, glad to be back.
Buddy, you are always putting out some seriously fucking triggering content. And then in our wonderful Telegram group that is very small but mighty, you shared a fucking a trailer for a new little mini doc that you put out. And I was like, holy shit. We have to have you back on the show. Let's fucking promote this. People need to see this. So, Simon, how you been? And for everybody that doesn't know who you are, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself and what's the best place to find you and support you?
Yes. Well, I've been good. I've been grinding. I'm, generally focused on producing my own forms of warfare, mostly in the form of content and memes and documentaries. I basically was forced into going full-time with content creation through the lockdowns because all the other work that I was doing, I was working as an actor and a personal support worker. I was working as an ordained minister. I was doing lots of different things. And when that all got shut down, I was like, okay, I'm going to go hard. I was working for a streaming platform called Rise TV. They were Edge of Wonder TV at the time. And so I was producing content professionally for them for a while. I did that for a few years and then decided, I want to produce something on my own. First independent documentary I did was Cut, Daughters of the West, which deeply explores the impact of the demoralization of the Western world on girls, on preteen and teenage girls. So that was a pretty hard-hitting piece that really unpacked that. It goes from the plastic surgery industry right into gender affirmative care and how all of that, including social media and all this stuff, is really coming down hard on girls. And so since then, I've been working on a new docuseries called Entrenched. That's in the works. I got lots of killer interviews upcoming for that, including Alex Zek and Robert Malone and a few other really, really awesome interviews. But most recently, I released my short film, Canada's Red Shadow. And this is a short documentary on the evolution of Marxism and how it ties to gender ideology in Canada. And it was inspired by my direct encounter with a local Marxist chapter who was leading a counter-protest against the 1 Million March for Children, which was a protest that occurred across Canada with parents pulling their kids out of schools because of what kind of disgusting content is in the curriculum, because the schools are secretly socially transitioning their children, because the medical care system here, the healthcare system, has been empowered to medically transition children without any parental consent. And so the parents were pissed off and they stood up, and it happened across Canada. So when I went to that, I found that the counter-protest was being led by active neo-Marxists with pictures of Karl Marx. And I said, well, hey, if they're saying it's communism, maybe I have a chance to finally teach everyone about how Marxism and communism have evolved so that they understand that we are indeed dealing with communist warfare, communist ideological subversion into Canada. And so that's really what I'm hoping to punch through with this new short social media documentary.
Yeah, man, I feel that if you are showing up for a counter protest to protest against parents and their rights and not wanting to teach sexually explicit material to kids, you might be a fucking chomo, and every single one of those pieces of shit should probably at least be looked at, like scrutinized pretty well, because it kind of sounds like they want to fuck your kids. And they certainly want your kids groomed, so they're easier to fuck. That's kind of the vibes I'm getting by those neo-Marxist dill holes. What are you saying, Thomas?
Well, just to clarify, you're working on this new documentary about Marxism, right? So I assume that's because the first issue's been solved now. Like they're not doing anything to the girls anymore. We've turned that corner, and now we're solving the next problem that was right behind that one.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, of course. The
Cool.
girls are no longer being destroyed. Wait, no, they are.
So we actually had you on for that. So anybody that wants to go back and listen to that, I was looking it up over here. That was episode number 156, and I called it the Transhumanist War on Our Daughters.
Yes, you can go. You guys can go to daughtersofthewestfilm.com, daughtersofthewestfilm.com, and that right there you'll see on the landing page will be my new film, Canada's Red Shadow. But then you can click in the menu. You'll see you can go check out Cut Daughters of the West as well. Plus, I got like courses. I got my free thought shop where you can get some swag, maybe even a nice little free thinker mug. You know, lots of good things there.
Hell yeah, dude. So, I mean, I don't know how we want to get this started. I think we are going to fucking shout out our t-shirts real fast. So why don't we shout out our t-shirts?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Shout out to Oddfellows.
Oddfellows, thank you, man. This is fucking sick as shit. Thank you so much for the t-shirts, bro. It's Smiley Face Killer / Zodiac Killer. And then Thomas has like a really fucking awesome Mark Zuckerberg Obey t-shirt. It's fucking sweet. So Oddfellows, you guys are awesome. Thank you for the swag. And hey, if you own a t-shirt company and you want a shout out, send us a fucking t-shirt.
Yeah.
We'll give you a shout out. Simon, what do you got on your shirt too? You said you have a brand new shirt.
That's right. This is Free Thinker. I got this. And then also, I don't have it on me right now, but I have a good retro Communism Kills shirt that I just released as well. And actually, if you put in the code Red Shadow, you can get $5 off that one. I am putting out that code to celebrate the release of this mini documentary. So Red Shadow will give you $5 off a Communism Kills retro shirt.
Hell yeah. And where can they find that? At SimonEsler.com or what?
That's right. SimonEsler.com or daughtersofthewestfilm.com. That'll take you really to the same place in the end. And you can see the free thought shop is in there. And we got tons of stuff going on there, even some apparel for kids. And I launched a new Legacy Keepers project. So there's some Legacy Keepers stuff there. That's about helping families to build legacy, because it turns out that really the deep state and the New World Order, the shit that scares them the most is family legacy. That's the main thing they don't want. The communists hate it. The globalists hate it. They do not want your family to produce strong legacies that last generations. So do that, basically.
Yeah. They don't want you to have kids. They don't want you to have family ties. They don't want you to have like wisdom from your elders. They want you to bend over, tuck your dick back and get butt fucked. That's what these monsters want. So we are going to play the trailer so everybody knows what the hell we're talking about. This is probably going to give us a YouTube strike because we're playing a YouTube video while on YouTube. I don't know how that works, but it might. I don't know. But Simon made the video, YouTube, and Simon has given us express permission to play this video. I don't know how it works.
I declare bankruptcy.
Yeah. But you know what? Fuck you, YouTube. So we're gonna play this this clip right now and see what happens. All right, you guys ready?
Ready.
Let's see here. Screen share. I'm a boomer, so this will take me just a second. There we go. Share. And you guys can all see this?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, let's full screen it.
Absolutely, there's a communist element in a lot of these people who are pushing this ideology. They tell us that. They bring signs with the hammer and the sickle. They bring signs with Vladimir Lenin's face on them. They've got Karl Marx on some of their propaganda. This is radical leftism who want to take away parental rights.
Well, yeah, communism explicitly wants to disrupt the nuclear family.
Karl Marx specifically talks just about that. Communism swept all throughout Eastern Europe, South America, Asia. It never grabbed a hold in much of the West, but it's never gone away. And now, instead of just calling it communism, they've rebranded it. And the new name for communism is equity. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion. To the average person out there, they think that sounds lovely. But what is equity? Equity is same results for everybody. It's tearing down someone to bring them to the same level. It's communism, and it doesn't work. It's destroyed every society that's ever tried it. And this is just its new incarnation. These people are celebrating some of the greatest mass murderers in human history. That's what they want to bring back, and the media won't even comment on it.
And our government is going to use our kids to change our culture.
There it is. That's one of the trailers, anyways.
Which is
Yeah,
the
buddy.
bad part? What? Why are we against equity? I don't get it now. I'm confused.
Simon, do you want to fucking send us that trailer? I want to see Trudeau's face in that butthole. That
Okay,
was,
well, I don't know if that one's on YouTube.
okay.
Let me
That's
see.
okay. That'll probably get you off here.
Oh, can you do it on Twitter? It might be on Twitter.
Yeah, send us a link. We should take a look at that one.
Was
Because
there a
that one
butthole
is true.
trailer
That one's,
too?
there's the butthole trailer. Let me grab the butthole trailer. It's pretty.
Yeah,
hard
we
to
got to
do as
watch
well.
the butthole trailer. I mean, I know our audience is dying to watch the butthole trailer.
The thing is, too, is that like that butthole, that thing is like that's a book for kids here. It's like grades 4 to 6.
You know
It's messed.
what? I bet I can probably make that Instagram one work, maybe.
You want to try it?
Let's see what happens if I do that. Okay. But you know, it automatically just starts playing. That's the annoying thing about the Instagram one.
Oh yeah. Okay, let me find the one on X.
But in the meantime,
Yeah.
Thomas, how you been, dude? What are you up to?
Everything, man. I got toys going. I got games going. I don't know if you saw. I got a game that just the opening page launched on Steam. So if you go on Steam and you search for Lucifer Lives in Lower Manhattan, or if you just search for Lucifer, it's like one of the only games that has the name Lucifer in it. Funny enough,
I'm kind of surprised by that, actually.
there's like 3, and I'm one of the 3 now. So that's pretty big
a niche
deal.
market, buddy. Yeah.
It is a niche market, and it's I think that the people that are going to come across it are going to expect that they're just walking into some random throwaway game and end up walking away knowing all about Freemasonry in like the late 1800s and Satanism in Hollywood and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Do you ever get like talkings too when you like drop too much knowledge? Does your lodge ever go like, you have to shut the fuck up, Thomas? You're spilling too much, or you just kind of dance on that line?
Yeah, I mean, like it's a don't ask, don't tell kind of situation. And my understanding is, yeah, there's certain, like, I think I know where the line is when it comes to like anyone caring. So I mean, I can say stuff. I just can't say certain stuff.
Okay.
That's about as specific as I could get.
There we go.
All right.
I just
Let's
found
see
it.
here.
Let me send it to you.
It's pretty fucking great.
Let's see this butthole.
It's the one that
man.
triggered the most people. Yeah, we're gonna build up the butthole, guys. Like, really, let's build this up. You know?
I'm sorry, Thomas. The butthole is blurred, so you're not going to get a chocolate starfish. But
I've got a wild imagination.
okay.
I'm actually, if I think hard enough, I can see a butthole right now.
Okay, let me copy this.
Hell yeah.
Okay, there you go. There's that link.
Okay, everybody, we're going to now watch the butthole trailer on Twitter. Everybody go follow Simon right now on X, I guess. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, give me a follow on X. I think I'm really shadow banned on there still. I gotta say, I know some weird shit going on with that account.
Oh, dude, I for sure am. I was saying some wild shit on there. They definitely don't like me. Wait, that's the wrong page. There we go. Are you being fucking serious right now? Get out of here, you son of a bitch. Okay, good. It should let me play this. All right, so we're gonna share this real quick. Let's fucking watch it. Screen share. Screen share. Simon Esler X page. We're sharing this fucking video. Everybody can see it?
Yeah, full screen that. Let's do it.
All right.
Never suggested that someone who's concerned about parental rights is somehow filled with hate or intolerance.
If you look at the various curriculums, you'll see that there is not what is being said out there about aggressive teaching or conversion of kids to being LGBT.
We do not need to be having literature that's showing boys how to suck dick.
He's undoing my belt. I'm reaching into his bedside drawer for a condom. I'm a sixth grader. I'm a sixth grader. I'm a sixth grader. I'm a sixth grader.
And the teacher, my profession, is going to be the one to indoctrinate your kids.
The teachers go to PD meetings paid for by the board or ministry, where we are verbally told that we shouldn't show books with nuclear families or white people.
It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations.
And the new name for communism is equity. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Trans rights are workers' rights, same struggle, same fight. Trans rights are workers' rights, same struggle, same fight.
And our government is going to use our kids to change our culture.
Damn.
There it is.
You know, it's funny. They say trans rights are workers' rights. These motherfuckers aren't working.
It's true.
You
They're like
fat
all at
wonder.
every protest somehow.
Are you saying sex work is not work?
Hi, Yvette. Yvette says hi, everyone.
What's
Shout
up
out.
with that? Yeah, see that chant though, the trans rights are workers' rights. That for me was like the moment when I was like, I got to make this into a movie because that's like the full merger of the trans ideology and the communist ideology, like publicly showing them to be the same thing. It's them saying it. So I was like, okay, great. Fucking hell, they said it. Yes, let's go.
We're not like breaking ground here when I say that these same goofballs that claim to be fucking communists, they have to know that if they were in the USSR and let's say 1912, they would have been shot first fucking thing. First of all, like Lenin would have been like, what the fuck is that? What like they wanted strong, healthy workers, and these people are autistic, retarded, vegan, too thin, ugly. What the fuck? Lenin would have just shot him in the fucking face. He would have had him against a wall and blown their fucking brains out. And so in that way, I'm like, okay, bring communism back. Let's let him clean up.
Well, that's something Yuri Bezmenov said too. In that same interview, Yuri Bezmenov called these people the useful idiots, and he said they will be the first ones to be lined up and shot when it actually turns to communism. They'll be the first ones lined up and shot. They're considered useful idiots. So he was talking not just about these protesters, but about like the university professors and like the high level people who are promoting this in academia, all that shit. He's like, they're the first ones to go. As soon as there's like the tyrant in power, they are useless to them. They know way too much. They're lined up against the wall. They're shot. You know,
they
that's
know too much. They're too fucking radical. Like
Yeah.
you don't need you need the radicals when you're trying to upturn fucking society. And as soon as
That's right.
you have power, you want that thing to be fucking chill.
Yeah.
You want to shut that shit down. And so if you have some radicals that feel like they're owed something, they're like, where's my piece? I did my part. That's cute.
I mean, they're so out of touch with what they're doing. Okay, so when I found these Marxists, I started to research them. I found the local Marxist chapters, Substack. I started following their Substack, reading their articles, being like, you know, who the fuck are these people and how are they thinking? So here's how out of touch they are, right? Because we know that these grassroots communist movements, these are really like what the globalists need, right? The whole plan is for the globalists to use these smaller communist operations, you know, across the nations to disrupt and destroy nation states, to create a power vacuum so that they can step in with the United Nations and the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization to fill that power vacuum. But they need communism to do it. So the insane thing is that you go to the Substack for these Canadian Marxists, and they're literally like citing the World Economic Forum to try to back up their position. They have no idea that they are empowering like a super bourgeois, like a super class, that they have no fucking clue they're creating this like globalist super class with communism, which is actually their nightmare, right? Like they don't want that shit, but they
Well, that's
don't
not
understand.
real communism.
That's
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 always
it.
the answer, dude. And it's always been that way.
Yeah.
Every single fucking time. Like I try to look at now, like I was a very big student of history. I was obsessed with history. That was really the only thing I was good at in school. I was like obsessed with fucking history. And then you find out that it's all manipulated. Like you see how like the present is manipulated. And you're like, oh, January 6th was worse than 9/11. Whack job shit like that. And you're like, oh, these people are fucking liars. And so everything that I'm reading through the history book, I need to fucking take with the most gigantic grain of salt, because whoever, like they say, whoever was the fucking victor gets to write the history books, right? So I think about it now too. It's like every single revolution throughout history, every single successful revolution, to me, I think was fucking co-opted by the globalists to begin with. Like you look at the French Revolution when they were trying to take out the monarchies and things like that. I mean, to me, that was like Freemason infiltration trying to take out some like some fucking some.
Well, it was Game of Thrones. It was like rich people A taking out rich people B, and then having
Yeah,
poor
well,
people do it
I
for
said
them.
Freemasons, Thomas. Yeah.
No, it's true, like 100%. And actually, that like kind of deception, it really even trickles down to these low-level communists. This is what I just released a Substack on this today. Okay, because I realized something when I was releasing the film. I was going through my footage and I was like, holy fuck. So there's a clip that I used from a Rebel News documentary on the 1 Million March for Children. In that documentary, there's this journalist named David Menzies, who he goes up to one of the counter protesters. And this is at a point when like magically all the signs of Karl Marx have disappeared. So when they actually went to confront the parents, they put away their Karl Marx signs. They didn't show that shit, right? So they're deceptive on many levels. This guy, David Menzies, is like, this is communism 101, right? Destroy the family, rebuild society in the communist image. The guy's just like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. You've never read Marx. I don't even think you've ever read a book. So I go back and look at my footage. That same motherfucker is in the actual earlier counter protest with all the Marxists holding up pictures of Karl Marx, telling people this isn't communism. And then 10 minutes earlier, he's there with all the Karl Marx people holding up the Karl Marx signs. Like, these people will lie. They'll lie and say it's not communism, and then they'll go chant about communism.
Well, it's because it's not real communism. So they can be like, "Oh, it's not communism." Like my sign, that was like this other version of it.
Yeah, man, they're just so twisted, but they will hide it, and that's what shocked me. Because when I walked into the counter protest, you know, something I described in my Substack, I show people how it was. Because when I got there, the counter protesters and the parental rights protesters, they were in totally separate areas. They were not together yet. So the counter protesters had set up their own little space where it's just all them chanting for each other. They're all chanting trans rights or workers' rights, but it's just them. Like, they're not confronting the parents yet. So what happened was the parents are up on the north lawn of Queen's Park. The two groups are separated by a legislative building, so they can't even see or hear each other. It gets to the point in the protest where the counter protesters mobilize and they march north in Queen's Park and they go to confront all the parents. But just before they did that, they put away all their Marxist signs. They tucked away the faces of Karl Marx. And when they showed up, it was just signs that said trans rights are human rights. And like, we're not touching your kids. Just like stupid shit like that. They were hiding the communism as soon as they went to confront the parents. And then, of course, in the media went crazy about how incredible the counter protesters were. They tried to frame it saying across Canada, the counter protesters overwhelmed the parental rights protesters, which at least in Toronto was an outright lie. But of course, the media also does not state that the counter protest in Toronto was led by active Marxists. They hide that as well. So it's all sorts of deception, you know, about whether or not there's just an actual overt communist movement leading this. Like, they're fucking saying it, but only when they were alone in a group. I was shady shit.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I wouldn't say that it is. I wouldn't say that it's like Marxist led, because I mean they are. Those are just the goofballs on the street. Those goofballs, they're the Marxists. They're like, they believe in it. They like
yes.
But the people that are actually, because dude, I had a buddy, and he is still a good friend of mine. He was a member of book club, is what they would call it down here in Portland. A black bloc type of group of folks that were, very, very violent, kind of psychos. And he's a good friend of mine. Whatever, we disagree. At the time, I would call myself an anarchist or a panarchist. I don't even know what the fuck I call myself anymore. And so, like, we would have these like philosophical like debates, and we'd have these ideas and whatever. But he would also tell me that, like, they were getting funding from places. There was
Oh, yeah.
there was all kinds of fucking things, and I was just like, "Where are you guys getting that from?" And he'd be like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, this group or something." It like some sort of Sorosy kind of shit. Like
Yeah.
these fucks, dude. They're so like. My friend is actually brilliant. He's a fucking brilliant guy. He's just so fucking like indoctrinated in this shit.
Yeah.
Like and I get where he's coming from with some of it. Like they're able to sell it to like disaffected young radicals, and I get it because I would have been one of them. I was
100%.
close, dude. If I hadn't found like libertarianism and had kind of gotten like and got sold on property rights and capitalism and things like that, I for sure would have fucking been one of these nuts because like I was radical as fuck, dude.
Yeah,
I was
no,
just
totally.
a right wing anarchist. I wasn't a left wing anarchist, which means I respect property rights. So, but like these fucking goofballs, dude. Like, I'm fucking forgot what I was gonna say. But anyways, they're fucking nuts, dude. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Like, they can sell you on it, like make it sound good, like because I guess like out here in Portland, Oregon, there is a big white supremacist movement, and like supposedly dude, I don't even know if I fucking believe these guys anymore. But they were telling me that like the Nazis were like waiting for gay boys to walk out of gay bars and beating them up for just because they were gay, and so then they would like escort them home and stuff. And they were like, he was basically trying to sell me on like, dude, we're just like we're the neighborhood police because the cops won't
We're
actually
Batman,
protect
bro.
us.
We're Batman.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
Batman.
we're
Yeah,
Batman.
and so like and like it. And sometimes I'm like, all right. I mean, that sounds like you're doing a good thing. You're like protecting the community and stuff. And so, anyways,
No, I agree with what you're saying. Like they're
the
not
memes,
when I say they're leading it, I know that technically this is all fueled by like globalists and all these NGOs. But what I mean to say is that as far as the community went, when I went and found the counter protest, it was led by the local Marxist group. They had a megaphone with a Marxist sign. Everyone was gathered around the Marxist woman with the megaphone, and they were chanting Marxist chants that clearly this group had practiced beforehand, because it was like not just a repeat after me, it was a call and response they had rehearsed. So it was like the counter protest was mobilized by this local like Marxist chapter. And like I even went and talked to just like a mom who had like 3 trans kids, and I'm like, okay, I don't know why you're not questioning why all of your kids are trans, but okay, this is just like a normal mom who's standing in this crew of Marxists questioning none of it. So it's like the Marxists were gathering and getting people riled up and getting them together to go and march against the parental rights people and then tucking away their shit. So it's like, that's what shocked me, is that there was no pretending that this wasn't Marxism. When I went over there, I was like, holy shit, they're saying it. And all the like sort of normal, just gender ideology parents and shit weren't questioning any of that. That was like totally cool for them. So like that part to me was kind of new, because I was used to people saying, no, this is just about protecting trans kids. No, this is trans rights or human rights, all this shit. When they were saying, no, trans rights are workers' rights. It's fucking Marxism and we're ready to go. And it's like, okay.
you know what's so funny though is like through every single version of communism, they've tried to appeal to the workers, and it's never worked. You know, like Marx was trying it. Like every single one of them would try to go and try to like organize labor movements and be like, "Come on, workers of the world, unite!" Right? Am I right, bro? And they're like, "Get the fuck out of here."
Yep. But then you know what? Like you look at like the uprising that's going on in Germany right now, for example, right? You know, like the farmers are going crazy in Germany, and they're like, there's this huge uprising, and there's like a couple other places in Europe, I believe, like
Amsterdam,
like,
right?
There's a whole bunch, right? Okay, so we see that, and we're like, fuck yeah, they're hitting back against the globalists. You know, they're hitting back against all the globalist policies that are ruining the farming industry. But these Marxists see it, and they're like, this is it. This is the worker class revolution, right? They've reframed it. So you go and read like their Substack, they see all those uprisings around the world. They see that as the working class rising up against capitalism. So to them, that's evidence of their fucking shit working.
Dude, it's so retarded because they see themselves in those farmers, but who they're working for is the globalists that are shutting down the farmers.
Exactly.
They're so fucking retarded.
Exactly.
Like those farmers just want to fucking feed their fucking cows like grass, and they want to fucking raise their fucking cattle. And meanwhile, those same vegan anarchists are trying to fucking kill those farmers because their meat is murder. Like, it's absolutely nuts, dude. I mean,
They're out of touch,
Portland,
man.
yeah, Portland has an extra flair of retard, I think, because I told this on the show, like, I don't know, a few weeks ago, but I went to a leftist punk show out here at a vegan bar, and dude, I think I could have beat every single person up in that bar.
Yeah, no, it's like that. Well, it's kind of like that here to an extent. Like Toronto's pretty extreme. This is one of the things I talk about in the film because I realized when I got there, okay, right across the street is the University of Toronto, super far left leaning, like so far left leaning that at one point Jordan Peterson was going to launch a website to basically warn people about all the courses at U of T that were promoting communism and like, all this nonsense propaganda. So, because that's where Jordan Peterson was originally teaching, right? So he launched this whole thing. So they've been going further and further left. So across the street from this protest was U of T. 18 minutes from there was their gender and sexual diversity office. And then a 20-minute walk in another direction was the former communist headquarters of Canada, which is now the mansion purchased by Black Lives Matter with the money they raised in the US. So it's like literally surrounding us is all this like just radical left-wing communist shit. So no wonder they had like come in like decent numbers because it was their zone. It was their hood. There's so many little communist neo-Marxist headquarters in that area of Toronto. So it's like, I kind of made this being like, man, it's kind of bad here. Maybe I should look at whether Toronto is a microcosm for what is spreading across the whole country. And indeed, when I did live coverage from this protest, that's what caused a Toronto District School Board teacher to reach out to me and say, I want to anonymously blow the whistle. Thank you for covering this. I'm in a downtown Toronto school, and it is much worse than people realize. So that's one of the things that's in the film is this testimony from this anonymous whistleblower from the Toronto District School Board, straight up saying, they tell us, don't teach things with nuclear families. Don't show books with white kids. Show books with boys in dresses. They're telling the teachers, you have to do this as part of school improvement plans.
This is going to sound weird, but I look at white people right now and I'm like, you guys are maybe the biggest pussy faggots in the entire world. Stand up. I want some proud white people. Where are the proud white people? You guys have to like sit down when you pee now. Like, look at Germany. They're so fucking cucked. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, white people are literally afraid to say, I'm proud to be white. Why? Black people can say it. I can say La Raza. I can say brown pride all day, I say. Nobody gives a fuck. White people are so fucking, it's like this suicide, man. And I'm just watching it happen right now. And it's like you can't even fucking talk about like white people in your fucking white country. What the fuck? You can't teach about like I'm not even saying being specific. Don't be fucking racist, but be proud of who the fuck you are.
Yeah. Well, this is the result.
Sandwiches and be like, yeah, I'm happy, I'm proud. I don't know. Jesus fucking Christ, white people.
But this is critical race theory. This is 100% the impact of critical race theory, and it's brutal. Well, it's brutal on a number of levels because now they have us like focusing way more on race as it is. So now it's like you have to be like white and black and talk about everyone's fucking race. That's part of, even that is part of what they're trying to fucking engineer, is to have everyone so fucking focused on that it ends up creating all this crazy division. In addition to the fact that what you're saying is like people are actually cucked, like they literally are ashamed. They're teaching young white boys that they are dangerous, that they should feel bad for who they are, that they are inherently racist. And it's even worse than that because they say, this is literally what the critical race theorists say. Racism is everywhere at any time. You can't question whether racism is present in any circumstance, any media, any relationship. They claim that it is always there. It's only a matter of using the theories to find it in that instance. That is what they believe. So it's like inverted.
I want to give some white pills, man. I feel like normal people are starting to see through this shit and they're starting to stand up. I really fucking hope Jesus, man. Like, I think that the left, it seems like, or whatever you want to call it. I hate saying the left and the right because then you're in their fucking paradigm. But like, I feel like these fucking globalist homos, the global homo has pushed too fucking far.
Yep. I agree with that. That's why there was the protest across Canada. That was it, man.
What do you think? What happens when the normal people, we'll say like the people, what happens when the people rise up? Like we saw how the trucker parade got like the parade, whatever you want to fucking call it.
You made it sound so gay.
Like we saw how it got smashed and it got demonized. Yeah. Can they keep doing that? Like what's going to happen if we just say, fuck you?
I mean, to a certain extent, I do think that they're prepared for those uprisings. You know, I don't think it's a surprise to the New World Order, deep state motherfuckers when there's these big uprisings. I think that's part of their social engineering, plan. They understand there's going to be uprisings here. Klaus Schwab writes about this, right? He writes about a world in turmoil with increasing social upheavals and how you have to use like the new technocracy to manage it. And to implement like, the systems that are going to manage like continuously restless populations. So it's not like that part's a surprise for them, but I do watch some of it like failing deeply as far as I know, like what they're up to. For example, I think with the truckers, Trudeau had to unveil himself as a real tyrant. Like he was not seen as a tyrant until the truckers really, truly on the world stage. He got deeply exposed. Like, I don't know if you guys remember when Trudeau first got elected, he wasn't seen as a tyrant at all. In fact, there was all these fucking memes of him shirtless because he kept doing these like these stupid PR stunts where he would like jog shirtless into someone's like beach wedding and be like, oh, I didn't realize there was a wedding here. And then like jog off. Like he really fucking did that like 2 or 3 times. And then there was all these memes about like how
he's such a creepy fuck boy, dude.
He's disgusting. He's so gross. And at the time though, that was working because he had a better image in Canada. There was all these memes about women fawning over him shit. So you go from the arc of like Trudeau being with like all these memes of him being like the best looking global leader in the world, all this fucking bullshit, to him being exposed on the world stage as an absolute fucking tyrant, like just openly being talked about that way. And, like RFK Jr. did a great video the other day talking about the Trudeau regime and his response to the truckers. It was like bang on. So there's that. And then there's also the fact that like the Canadian media was put on its heels. They were struggling to contain the narrative because the problem is that, the Canadian media, they're all about the DEI, right? They're all about the diversity, equity, and inclusion. The problem was that the trucker convoy, it was totally DEI. Like it was like brown people with white people, vaccinated, unvaccinated. Like it was like all these different groups coming together. It really was like the perfect picture of their sort of utopia in terms of like all the identities working together. So they had to spin the shit out of it. And it got to the point where even the shady propagandist New York Times, they were reporting on the fact that the truckers were being arrested at gunpoint. Like Trudeau went fucking crazy and sent in these like jackboot thugs, right? Literally arresting them at gunpoint. New York Times reports on this, and the CBC goes on Twitter and tries to claim that the New York Times is spreading disinformation. And the reporter from the New York Times fucking slammed CBC and said, I was there. These are my photos. Fuck you. And posted all the photos of the truckers being arrested at gunpoint. So the CBC got owned by the New York Times. So I think a lot of that fucked over Trudeau's whole system in a lot of ways. And it created an opportunity for Canadians to actually have some fucking patriotism for once. I'll admit it was like the most patriotic experience for me. So I don't know. Some of it may have played to our advantage, even though I know they're prepared for some of these upheavals. It's still war. You can't just black pill the shit out of ourselves all the time. This is war. We have to recognize that there's the ways that we respond. And, there's also some I think there's some white hat forces mixed in with the black hat. Like there's always deeper shit going on as far as I can tell.
There's gotta be good guys, right? Yeah. Like I really want to fucking make sure people don't think I'm talking some QAnon, some goofball white hat kind of like someone's gonna save you. No one's going to save you. You have to save you.
Yes.
But hopefully, for the love of God, there's got to be some good guys fighting these pieces of shit too. And you know what? They look like us. They're fucking normal people standing up, raising up. I hope at like somewhere high in the elite government there are some good people. I kind of fucking doubt it. I kind of think they're all bought, sold, and paid for. I kind of don't think they get into those positions without having to fuck or murder a kid or something. I don't think that you get that sort of power without like you have to kiss the ring. You got to do something terrible, but who the fuck knows, man? It's fucking wild, dude.
Well, there's a lot of possibilities too, right? Because these people, like they're losers. They're losers in that they're so self-interested. They're so obsessed with power for themselves that also they'll fucking turn on each other.
Yeah.
So the more we rise up, like these fucks will totally sacrifice each other. And so, on the one hand, I think it's reasonable to assume that there are likely some white hats. On the other hand, it doesn't matter to the extent that we need to stand up as if there are not, right? We have to do the work as if we have no one in there. Anyways, we have to do the grassroots work. You have to do the local action to create the global impact. That's part of what I'm trying to do with this, right? Expose locally, win globally. So one of the messages I'm trying to release with this film is, I focus tightly on how is neo-Marxism manifest in my area of the world. So like 99% of the evidence in this film, Canada's Red Shadow, is either in Toronto or in Ontario. So in my city or my province. So I looked at just like what is going on. How is this neo-Marxist critical race theory, gender ideology shit manifest only here? So I can say, look how bad it is if I just study my corner of the world. And what does it mean for you to look at how this war is manifest in your community? So my call to action is, share this film along with a story of how this shit is manifest in your community, because people have to get on the same page. We have to all understand, okay, some portion of this is communist warfare. That has to get into the Overton window because they've worked really hard to keep that out of the Overton window. They don't want that to be a talking point that anyone can use in a mainstream way. So when you lay it out and say, look, they're saying it's communism. Look at all the communist warfare. This ties to our knowledge of communist warfare. We can see how neo-Marxism became a thing. Then I want people to go and find out what it's like in their community so that you're not just stuck in the online outrage machine and going and looking at like the worst shit in other parts of the world and, drag queens like showing their dicks to children in like a city somewhere else. No, like figure out how it's happening in your city, in your community, and expose that. That's what I've really focused on in this film, because I think the whole, expose locally, win globally principle is important. And I think that's what's going to do a lot of the winning for us.
I think really what it is they fucked up when they started after the kids.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, right wingers or whatever you want to fucking call us, normal fucking people, normal folks that work hard every day and take care of our families. Now that makes you a right winger. We don't give a shit if there's a fucking drag show. Like, there can be a drag show if it's for adults.
Yeah,
I've been to a drag show. I got a fucking lap dance by a fucking tranny when I was like.
I just got here from a drag show.
Yeah, there you go, dude. Like I've been to. I was such a fucking degenerate in my youth. I did all kinds of terrible things. I fucking. Anyways, we can.
Well, plus like gender, but like
this is the conversation for that shit. But
that's where it's going. But but gender nonconformity was fucking punk rock.
Yeah, and it was fine, and I didn't give a shit. And then they started doing this shit to the kids. We know what a fucking drag show is. It's a degenerate hellhole where there's a bunch of gay guys doing a bunch of drugs. They're doing meth. They want to butt fuck, and that's fine, I guess. It's kind of gross, whatever. But do your fucking thing. Do you get monkeypox, whatever? But Jesus fucking Christ, the kid doesn't need to be in there. The kid doesn't need to be on stage. The kid doesn't need to be getting dollars thrown at him. They don't need to be doing the splits on the fucking stage like in a fucking cheese string. What the actual fuck, and why the fuck do I have to say that?
I know. And guess what? It's always men. Go and show me the drag show where it's a woman in drag being a man. Fucking find me one.
Dude, someone was telling me the other day too. They were like, there's probably a meme. It's like if those fucking drag queen trannies that want to read books to people, why are they going to nursing homes? Why are they going to like places? So like, it's only for the kids. Why?
Yeah, 100%.
You could read to the homeless. You could read to the old folks. You could
Well, I mean, the real answer though is that exact dynamic that we're talking about, where if you can train for 15 years an entire generation of kids, then like that's all you have to do. If you can do it for 15 years, then you can kind of like leave it on autopilot and let it drive itself
right.
after that.
That's right. That's ideological subversion. That's what people need to understand we're dealing with. Some of these people are so ideologically subverted, they can't understand facts. They literally cannot. And I experienced this. So I actually tried to talk to some of these Marxists when I was at the counter protest, because basically I was there filming and I was there like neutral. I was in like a black hoodie or something. There's nothing clearly saying who I was or what I stood for. And basically I just got there and I was like, this is pretty nuts. So I just started filming. Eventually, one of them somehow clued into the fact that I was by no means a raging Marxist, because I wasn't chanting with them or something. They started freaking out at that point. So they grabbed their flags. They started like trying to wrap the flags around me and stop me from shooting. One of them came up with a spray bottle and just started spraying my phone to try to destroy it. And
Well, they're just trying to make sure that you had an equal amount of flag and spray as they did.
Yeah. So it's like, they didn't want me there. They didn't want any pushback, which is what I find so fucking strange. Like, you're just there chanting for each other. Like, you're not even chanting at the parents. It's just a big circle jerk. Like, anyways, it was pretty interesting to try to talk to them and to just get it clear for myself that these people are so triggered. They're so out of touch with reality that they can't even have a conversation. They were trying to talk to me. I'm like explaining, well, my issue is ideological. I don't support Marxism. I was very clear. Like, I have an issue with the ideology going on here. While I'm saying that, there's a trans person with a noisemaker and they're like shaking it in my ear, like I'm being sprayed, and there's just like a fucking circus. I'm like, Yuri Bezmenov was right. These people can't see that black is black, that white is white. They are incapable because they're ideologically subverted, which to an extent helps me understand they're not the real enemy. The enemy is the person, the groups that use psychological warfare to destroy my neighbor's mind. So my neighbor is not my enemy, and I got to be clear about that. Like, I still have to be firm and be like, okay, well, fuck you, fine. But it's not the same as believing they're my enemy. You got to have situational awareness of like this battlefield.
Yeah, man, it's absolutely the truth, dude. I mean, because I actually have a little bit of empathy for them, because I've known these guys. I was a fucking radical leftist in my youth. I could have easily been talked into doing some wild fucking psychotic shit when I was younger. I was so fucking radical. Like, I would have done some domestic terrorism for sure.
Yeah, man, I get you. I know. I know people right now. I work with someone, so like I'm still an actor, right? So I do like regular shows on stage and stuff. Like I perform comedy theater like once a week roughly. And one of the actors who's with me, she is all the way one of these Marxists. She's at every single protest. We try to talk it out. We have reasonable conversations. She's never really going to move in any direction other than further left. But I'm like, why burn the relationship? What am I going to do?
Well, I think that there's hope for them, because the ones that are still willing to have a conversation, those are the most reasonable ones, dude. And what you're going to do is you're going to plant a seed and it's going to stick in their craw. And they're like, fuck, he was right about that.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Possible. They might meet.
That's what happened to me. I was a radical fucking leftist, and I sat there and had a conversation with this lady because I'd never really even met a Republican. I mean, I did, like I knew a bunch of them, but I'd never had a conversation with one. And this bitch was telling me she was going to vote for Donald Trump, and I was in school with her, and it was like, you're really going to vote for Donald Trump? This is the only person I'd ever talked to that was going to like, yeah, I'm voting for Donald Trump. And we sat there and had like a 2.5 hour conversation. And at the end, I wasn't convinced by any way stretch of the imagination, but I kind of could slightly understand where she was coming from.
Yeah.
And then it was just lots of little fucking things that happened for me. Like I'm still not a Trumper, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. It sort of happens like slowly according to the pace that's like right for you. You have to have your own thoughts about that shit. It's true. You're totally right. Maybe some of the seeds I've planted will help this person along the way. Maybe she'll meet a detransitioner, in person. That tends to be a huge red pill for people. Like the detrans people, I've said this a bunch of times, but it's so important for people to understand. Yuri Bezmenov's thing about, the ideologically subverted who can't see that black is black and white is white. They're gone, right? He's like, they're a lost cause. I'd say that's true, except for the detransitioners. And I think they're an interesting exception because they were what Yuri Bezmenov talked about. So they were so ideologically subverted that these girls literally like maimed themselves. They lost their breasts. They sterilized themselves. So they were so ideologically captured that they actually destroyed their bodies to an extent. But they woke up out of it. And now a bunch of them are suing these medical like organizations, and they're speaking out, which means they did become the exception to the rule. They can now see that black is black and white is white. So you're right. There are good examples of people coming around, and we should keep that in mind, because even like one person emerging from it, man, their stories are always so powerful. You know, the people that used to be social justice warriors who are now like emerging from it, being like, that was a cult.
When
Holy
I
shit.
look at my Facebook memories, oh God, I cringe. They're fucking awful.
Well, you know, that's good. That's a good story to tell, right? Like, people need to hear that stuff. It's important. I was left wing as well. I was reading Adbusters. I remember participating in Buy Nothing Day to be like a raging anti-capitalist. You know, I was all
And you
about
know,
that shit.
if it's directed in the right way, those things are good. Like, if you don't fucking like Starbucks because they're cunts, good. Let's protest Starbucks. I mean, it would be like sometimes the goofballs are doing the right things, but they don't even know why they're doing it, or they're doing it for the wrong reason. And you kind of just have to be like an attaboy, like, all right, good for you, ding dongs. Like, like I saw a bunch of people protesting outside of Starbucks the other day, and it was because they weren't going to let them unionize. I'm like, no, whatever, but all right.
No, it's true. You know, one of the most even-keeled sources I've found for this, just laying this out, is the Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. It's rock solid. It's rock solid just because it's a very practical. There's no dogma. It's not about politics. It's just about like doctrine. And they even state in there, you know, they lay out, here's what communism is, here's what capitalism is, and they openly talk about how both systems can be corrupted to rule and oppress people. Both systems easily corrupted. And we can see that. Communism, as we can see, is corrupting the shit out of everything. But capitalism being turned into corporatocracy, you know, availing itself to a corporatocracy, well, that's what's fucking us too. Now we have media conglomerates that can control people's minds with these mad media campaigns. That's how it is in Canada. All the media is state media, right? There is nothing but state media in the mainstream in Canada. There's no dissent. We don't even have things like Fox News here that are like a conservative pushback. There's zero conservative media at all in the mainstream here. That's, as to an extent, it's a result of like capitalism being taken into a corporatocracy, because, you know, we have to understand healthy capitalism to protect it. And I would say that we didn't, and we let that get away. So you're right. It's like growing up, some of what I was against as in my left-wing days was corporatocracy. And now I see that, you know, I get it more clearly now, but at the time, you know, Buy Nothing Day seemed like the best way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And, you know, I have a friend that is, he's kind of a fucking brilliant kid, young guy. He's 21, so he's very idealistic. I'm going to try to get him on the show because me and him have these long, amazing fucking arguments all the time. And I think that my audience would love to hear him. Probably half of them are going to love him, half of them are going to hate him. But either way, they're going to appreciate our arguments. So shout out, buddy. You know who you are. And I'm going to try to get him on the show, but
you should, because that's the kind of conversations that are dying. Like debates between opposing ideologies, between people that think differently. That's part of what's being canceled too. And people are being entrenched further and further into their own camps, into their own narrative entrenchments. And that's dangerous. It's so dangerous. And that's actually what social media is designed to do. It's what's so dangerous about social media. It's designed to create little echo chambers. Like, you have to go and seek out people that disagree with you. It's why I follow the Substack of my local Marxist chapter. I want to watch how they're thinking. I want to study them. I want to understand them. If I consume nothing but content that makes me feel validated and right, then I'm being socially engineered as part of the problem. Like, fuck that. I don't dig it.
Yeah, I get it, man. Like, half the time it's infuriating. So I do want to stay in my echo chamber, but at the same time, I get it. And you have to know your enemy. Like,
Yeah.
I listen to Ben Shapiro and it makes my blood boil.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, I don't want to barf, but I also
Yeah.
want to have like a good like feeling for like what the conservative movement is, and it's
Yes.
really the corporate conservative movement. Like
100%.
it's really sick, dude.
Yeah.
Um,
It's gross. It's gross. This is one of the reasons why I made my film Cut, because I was like, the conservatives are fucking us over because they're saying the way to protect girls and kids from this trans movement is to just become conservative. And they're lying to people. And that's dangerous, you know, because I don't think it's an apolitical issue. Girls getting cut up, whether it's for gender transitions or whether it's because of exponentially rising breast augmentations and labiaplasties in teenagers, like that shit's weird too. All of that we need to look at as the broader demoralization and how it's affecting girls. I made that so even a left-wing person could watch it because it starts off with the way plastic surgery is affecting girls and be like, wait, our society is kind of fucking over girls. That was the whole point of it. Whereas like, get this conversation into a place where people can't just say the solution is to become more politically aligned with me. Like, no, that's not it.
Yeah, buddy. I really appreciate that. That is really fucking cool because a lot of these things shouldn't be political. And like when I was younger, I felt like things were way less political. Like you were actually allowed to have opinions on different topics, and there were more people that just people were more interesting. Like I had a lady on this show, and shout out to her. Maybe I'm going to try to reach out and have her back on the show. But there's some wild groups of like progressives. Like she's progressive as fuck, hard leftist. She's into witchcraft, all this wild shit. But she's pro-life. And there's this big movement of pro-life leftists and progressives, and I was like, I didn't even know you guys existed. How do you how are you guys not like murdered, nailed to a cross? And there's
I love it.
Yeah, it's fucking beautiful, dude. And they're coming to the left from the left and trying to save babies' lives, dude. And it's beautiful.
Wow. You know, this is why I promote free thinking so consistently. It's why it's all over my brand, because people need to remember what free thought is, right? So free thought is the capacity to be able to think about yourself and the world using logic, reason, and empiricism. And empiricism is really the reliance on your body and your own direct experiences. So that's number one, right? And it's to be able to do that without relying on dogma, authority, or tradition. So when you're not relying on dogma, authority, and tradition, and you're using your direct experiences and logic and reason, that's a powerful fucking tool. But you cannot be politically entrenched and use free thought. They don't work together very well. So, you know, for me, getting people to understand free thought, the actual definition of that, the practice of that, you know, I think that's super important. It's been an anchor for me for a long time, because once I read the definition of free thought, I was like, that's it right there. I was like, that's, you know, that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the TV. I was like, that's it, you know, let's go. So I really think that, you know, when people get a grasp of what free thought is, then you can navigate the waters of what the different political trenches are saying and doing, and really decide like who you are, what your value system is. And don't get me wrong, like we need to be politically engaged to an extent, right? Because at the same time, I think we have like this sort of deep state, new world order entity. They're deeply infiltrating politics, and they're trying to use politics to grab power. And so you do want to be like locally active and understand who's not in the uniparty, right? Which representatives are not in the uniparty here. Fuck Republican and Democrat like ideas of things. Let's just look at whether or not they're pushing the globalist uniparty line and support those who are aligned with what we know to be correct for humanity at this time. You have to have free thought for that, you know? And so you don't ditch politics entirely, but also don't let politics think for you. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think with politics, the best way to keep an eye on politics is as locally as fucking possible.
Yeah.
Don't get fucking caught up in the big shit, because the big shit, we don't really have a fucking say. Like they try to call this a fucking democracy, or it's not a democracy. They even try to say it's like a constitutional or a democrat. What the fuck are they calling it? A democratic republic or whatever the fuck they call it. But it's not really, dude. We know that we're in an oligarchy. We know that literally our vote means fucking nothing. That actually the popular vote doesn't mean a fucking thing. And try to fucking explain to me how it isn't complete tyranny when you try to say that we're some form of democracy and that like our vote matters. but this electoral college actually fucking decides. And who gets to vote in those electoral college people? Oh, the party? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyways, we
it's
could
shady.
fucking talk about that all day. But like, to me, what you're saying is like, stay the fuck out of politics, because you're right that it is the globalist psycho, the global homo, global homogeny fucking psychos. They are trying to make you think of red and blue. They are trying to make you think of left and right. They want to keep you in this like capitalist, communist paradigm. Like, because you're seeing those communists and you're like, oh my God, they're fucking scary. So I better go run to the right. You know, and so I want people to fucking realize that too, that like this is a dangerous transition time. When you start seeing people rise up and fighting, you need to be careful, because your movement is going to get co-opted too if it isn't already. Like what they're going to try to replace it. I mean, it's always problem, reaction, solution, right?
Yeah,
it's
the Hegelian
always
dialectic.
the Hegelian dialectic, right? Yeah. So I mean, these globalists know that they are fucking pushing trans kids, cut off your pee-pee, do all this, like, let's fuck kids. They're getting more wild and more aggressive and in your face. And there are stupid people that are buying into it, but the rest of the world is going, what?
Yeah.
And so there's gonna be this wild fucking swing in the opposite direction. And they already have their people in place ready to do it. Whether that's Donald Trump, I don't know. Whether it's, whoever that person is, they have that ready to go. Because they don't care which side wins, because they win.
There's
so
a
if
great
the left
quote.
wins, cool.
Yeah.
If the right wins, cool. Because it doesn't matter. Both of my hands are in both of these puppets. So we need to fucking be careful, because it could be just as fucking bad if the right wingers win. It's gonna be just as fucking bad if we're not careful. That's why you need to fucking take care of yourself. You need to be reliant on yourself. You need to start like relying on your small community around you. What are some like-minded people? What do you guys have in common? Do you guys have a religion in common? Do you guys have some shared ideals in common? Do you guys want to raise your kids the same way? Do you guys want to eat organic food? Do you guys want to be like not vaccinated? Like, have some things that you guys have some shit in common, and pay attention and take care of each other. And then guess what? It doesn't matter who the fuck the president is.
Yes, 100%. We're going into this era of, I think, increasing decentralization. So a big part of what's collapsing is centralization. That's been one of the issues.
So.
Hopefully we'll see, I guess. But it's like, there's a great quote from Kathy O'Brien, the MK Ultra whistleblower, who escaped MK Ultra. And, she says that at one point she recovered this memory of, I think she was with George Bush Sr. And she was listening to him talk about when people get fed up with the Republicans, we'll put in Bill Clinton as a Democrat. And she just remembered them talking about swinging back and forth between the parties while they maintained control. It's such an apt quote, because I think there's a lot of that always going on. And 100%, you're so empowered when you just focus locally. And again, I think that's really what this film was the first time I really tried to buckle down and do that, and try to be like, okay, how can I focus super hard on what's happening here, how the wars manifest here? Because sometimes too, like this wars, it can be manifest slightly differently in different communities. It doesn't look here like that outrageous fucking Instagram video I saw yesterday necessarily. I have to go and see what it looks like here. I'm sure that it's not the case everywhere else that they're saying it's Marxism, that they have Karl Marx's face all the time. I think sometimes it's a little more subversive than that. So it just depends on how the wars manifest in your community. But if you don't know the difference between what you see online and what's really happening in your community, you don't have situational awareness. And so you can't take proper action. So don't get totally caught up in the digital domain. You have to learn to, this is another thing they say in the Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. You got to dominate the physical domain, which is what you're talking about. Getting a network of like-minded people, getting a sense of who in your community has certain skill sets. We're an unschooling family. So, we're all about child-led learning, and we have a network of parents that they're educating their kids in a similar way. And we have this like solid network, and the kids are meeting up like 3 to 4 times a week. And
dude,
we have those.
Really need to hook you up with Tejana after this, because she's fucking amazing, man. Yeah, we're definitely going to get you guys hooked up. We should all do an episode together too. Yeah,
I'd love to.
Yeah, she's fucking amazing, dude. And she's doing the same stuff. She's doing all this community outreach, and she's really like trying to do Canada for Canadians. And dude, she's doing some solid fucking work. She's absolutely awesome, dude.
Great.
And wow, man, where was I going with this? I was thinking, so let's try to think of like some positive things that are fucking happening right now. Cause, I just heard about this, so I don't know too much about it, but it seems like some of the globalists kind of bullshit is starting to fall apart. And I wonder how desperate, like, because you look at it, like it looks like a fucking dragon, right? And it's maybe starting to die, but like when a caged animal, or not caged, when a cornered animal is most fucking dangerous when they're dying too, right? And I think about things like I just heard that like BlackRock had to lay off about 1,000 employees, and that they're downsizing and they're having troubles. When you're looking at Satan itself, like BlackRock, and their portfolio is starting to look shitty, and people are pulling out of BlackRock. People are like actively taking millions out. To me, that sounds like a fucking fantastic thing. And I wish it was an organized thing. I wish there were some folks that were like, hey, here's an alternative. Support our local companies. Like, take your money out of BlackRock and put it into your local community and things like that. I don't think that's the case. They might be just giving it to some other evil corporation. Maybe it's all going to Vanguard. I don't know. But
well, I know there's some, there's like Patriot Switch, and there's a bunch of like sort of parallel economy people really trying to launch some cool stuff. And I think there's some really positive things there. I just came across a really awesome resource called Our Home Tribe. I just did a podcast with Emily, the woman who founded this. I was on the Breakaway USA podcast with her. I'm collaborating with those guys on a new podcast, actually, which we'll talk about in a second. But she's got Our Home Tribe, and this is like a really dope, basically like a network. And there's an app too you can get for iPhone and Android that connects people with homeschooling and unschooling resources. And it's like all about giving parents and kids the resources they need to have like a rich home education, in all these different philosophies of learning. So she's really broad-minded about it. It talks about doing it as like homeschooling or Waldorf, or like all these different ways of looking at, learning styles in children. Really, really great. And actually, having found this, I'm actually going to start developing some courses to put up on there that people can go and purchase, because I have a ton of research that I'm working on that's on the art of using homeschooling to create family legacy. I've got content on the science and philosophy of unschooling that I'm going to be doing. That's a really positive thing that I found recently. I was like, this is so cool that there's a project like this existing, and they specifically set it up so they can't get tied into any of the DEI bullshit. So they can't get tied into any of like the corporatocracy nonsense where they can cancel companies. They have zero debt. They're, 100% independent company launching all of this good stuff. So that was a really cool discovery.
And is it a private or a public company? Because you have to be careful with that too, because the second that you're open, that's when those companies can just, like things like BlackRock, start buying fucking stock and things like that. And then all of a sudden, that's when they can kick you out of your own fucking company that you created. It's one of those.
I don't know. I'm assuming they protected themselves from that. She seemed really aware about it, but I guess people should dig into that for sure. Check it out. But the other positive thing. But I wanted to say before I forget, with Breakaway USA, I am collaborating with them, and we're going to do a little Canadian. We're launching a Canadian podcast through them, because we're all about creating, breakaway, this sense of breaking away from this corrupt system that's collapsing. So we just launched a new podcast called Liberty North. So people can look up Liberty North on Instagram. We're dropping our first episode, and that's going to focus really on like using Canadian insight to really help the world at large. The way that people look to the truckers and what's going on in Canada, and how it's sometimes the tip of the spear with communism, so that Americans can sort of see what's coming. We're all about that. So check that out. Before I forget, I wanted to say that.
Hell yeah, dude. we've got some Canadian friends up there. I want to hook you up with all of them. because they're all doing some fantastic work up there, dude. So that is really cool, dude. Liberty North. So make sure to send me all these links after the show, and I will include them all in the show notes so everybody can find that stuff. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, like exactly what you're doing, what you're talking about, making these like maybe these unschooling, homeschool sort of like curriculum, things like that. That's what we need to be thinking about. Like people think too short term. They're thinking like, how are we going to beat this right now?
Yeah,
you're not.
Yep.
No, I mean these fucking plans have been put into place decades ago, and you're not going to fucking smash them all to bits now. You can stop some things, and you should, and I'm not telling you not to fight, but what we need to be doing is we need to start thinking the long game too, because they said, like Yuri Bezmenov said, how do you fucking like infiltrate a fucking society? It takes 20 plus years. You got to start by teaching an entire generation. Well, we need to stand up now. We need to teach this generation right now. We're the ones having kids.
Yep.
The normal people, we're the ones having kids. Let's start this right here and right now. Okay, I'm going to say my wild things. Don't fucking take any vaccines. That's my personal opinion.
I'm
Whatever.
with
you. I don't, there's no fucking
Nothing.
hopes. Nothing. Yep. Don't cut your fucking kid's dick, please. Don't generally mutilate them. And then more so than that, don't ever let them darken the doorway of a government indoctrination camp. Keep your kids out of public schools. That's 100%. That's where this shit is happening. Yep. That's where your kids are going to fucking get taught about this wild leftist social gender, and they'll be taught to hate themselves because of the way they look. My beautiful little son is Hitler's wet dream. He's blonde-haired, blue-eyed. He's a beautiful little boy. They're going to tell him that he has to hate himself because of the way he was born.
Like, yep, same thing.
Yep. Fuck yourself.
Yep, 100%, dude. I'm with you all the way. Like, this is it. We got to be thinking into the future because our enemy has been thinking into the future for a long time. They've been thinking multi-generationally. So, like, don't even just think of your kids now. Think of your kids, right? Think about your legacy. That's it. It's family legacy. What are you creating now that's going to reach into the future generations of your family? For me, I want to generate a legacy of free thought. I want free thought, free thinking children who are able to pass on that skill set to the next kids, because that is a skill set that can be adapted to the different conditions of the world at large. We know things are changing rapidly. So I want to instill that legacy in my children. You know, I'm looking at this totally as legacy, thinking like my enemy. They're at war with our future right now. So that's sort of what we need to be thinking about. This is why I launched my Legacy Keepers project. You know, people can check out, if you go to my website, simonesler.com or daughtersofthewestfilm.com, you can look on the menu there. You'll see Legacy Keepers. And I've got a free Legacy Keepers workbook for parents and a Legacy Keepers Foundations workshop. Both of those are free right now. And it really invites people into like how to create rites of passage for your children that can help ignite legacies that will last. It looks into how we got here, you know, the way that our enemy has been thinking in terms of generations. It's a deep study of the New World Order, how and why they've attacked the family, how we need to respond with legacy. I'm majorly focused on this right now. It's something I really want to empower other families to do, because I can see that family legacy is the Achilles heel of the New World Order. So I'm like fucking tightly focused on that.
There's a reason why they hate the nuclear family.
100%.
They don't want you to have a strong foundation.
That's
they
right.
don't want you to love your parents. They don't want you to have a good upbringing. They want you to be raised by the state. They think they own your child.
Yep.
Your
100%.
child is their property, and they want to instill. And you know what? They're almost right. And that's why you have to be extra fucking careful, dude. Like the second that you let your child into one of those schools, there is a level of implied consent. That's what they call it. So they can do all kinds of medical things to your child. They can like put fluoride all over their teeth. They can give them a jab. They can even start transitioning them like socially. They can go get them a dress and or maybe some hormone blocker. They can do all kinds of wild shit.
Yep.
And they don't have to tell you shit.
No, they've set it up that way.
When you sign it up, when you sign your fucking name on the dotted line and you drop your child off at one of these places because fuck, it's cheaper than a babysitter, right?
that's the struggle, and I get it, right? A lot of families, they're stuck in this place where they got into the social norm of using school as childcare for their entire childhood. And this normalization was all part of the war on the family, right? So you have to get your head into the mindset that there's a certain amount of sacrifice that is correct, right? So if this means you don't get to maintain the lifestyle that you have right now, if you lose a bit of your lifestyle, if your income drops a bit, but it means you keep your kids home, that is a worthy investment, in my opinion. I'd say be a little bit more poor if you have to get your kids out of school, then do that. Figure it out.
Poor, man. I mean, it sucks. It fucking sucks. But dude, if you gotta live in like a fucking, I don't know, if you gotta live in an apartment, live in a fucking apartment. If you gotta live in a fucking 1-bedroom studio, but your kids are fucking happy and you get to spend more time with them.
That's right.
That's what fucking matters, dude.
Way more. It matters the most because, again, you're reaching the future. When your kids have a stable upbringing and your family's tight, that lasts for generations. You have to fucking think that way. So you're a little bit more, you take a bit of a hit on your paycheck and your lifestyle, but like the next 3 generations are badass. I don't know. I think that's worth it.
Yep. Fucking A, man. Simon, this was a fucking blast, dude. It's always a good time to talk to you. Why don't you tell our audience, is there any other stuff you want to share with us? Is anything we missed?
Yes, I will say that on January 21st, I am hosting a masterclass that people can register for. And that's like, I really am unpacking years, maybe almost a decade of research into how war has evolved, how communism has evolved, some of the science and philosophy of unschooling that I talked about. And it's really just like a huge lay of the land and all the practical solutions that I found in living with a family in this war and researching warfare, modern warfare for many years now. So that is my From Pressure to Potential masterclass. That's on January 21st. You'll find that in the courses section of my website. And that's really like, I'm really psyched about this because it's just practical as hell. It gives people really deep insight into the cognitive battlefield that we're in. And the reason it's called Pressure to Potential is because I'm really about taking the pressure of all the fucking warfare that surrounds us and turning that into potential, not letting it stress you out, but letting it, refine you and your family. So people can check that out. And other than that, yeah, there's all my films on my site. There's Daughters of the West. There's my Superorganism 6-part series. That's on the war on the family. You can watch my new film for free on my website. And there's the Legacy Keepers project that people can check out. Either go to SimonEsler.com or daughtersofthewestfilm.com. And there's all the swag that you can get as well. $5 off the Communism Kills shirt if you put in the code Red Shadow.
Love it, dude. That's fucking awesome, man. And I'm going to hook you up with my buddy Davey from Red Pill Cartel. He is a proud Canadian out there, and I think he's probably around your neck of the woods. And then I'm going to also hook you up with my buddy Tomcat from Strange Brew, and I'm also going to hook you up with Tejana because those are my homies out there in Canada, and they are all fucking working hard to defeat the New World Order. So
let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. I love it, man.
Oh, and anyone, if you want to watch Canada's Red Shadow, the easiest way is on Instagram or X. The full film is free there. Watch it, share your own stories of communism. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. I love it. And everybody, because Thomas is gone, I'm going to give his what the fuck you call that? So I'm going to give his plugs, rather. So everybody go to paranoidamerican.com, chaostwins.com, samtripoli.com to go and check out his awesome comic book that he made with Sam Tripoli called The Chaos Twins. You can pick it up there at any of those websites that I just mentioned. And we're going to play, again, Thomas's new music video that he made called Moonchild about that broad that got pregnant by Aleister Crowley in the middle of the desert trying to do some wild satanic rituals out there. So this is the new music video by Thomas. He's making wonderful music with his AI art, Moonchild. All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, Simon.
Word up. See you soon.
See you, buddy. There we go. Video file. And there it is, Moonchild. I think it's going to play.
Yeah. She's got demons. She's got a few. She's filled with semen in a circle under the moon. Oh, she's a moon child. It's a magical brew. Oh yeah, the moon child summoning demons in you. Yeah, she's a moon child. Let on me your tongue to kiss. What if you're a moon child? Girl, let's make a homunculus. It's a ritual in the desert night, but I just might, if it's right, make it habitual. I just might. It takes a wicked individual to inseminate this moon child. She's a moon